Molweni, Molweni. Hi and welcome back to my channel. Welcome back to another conscious conversation with me, Miss Apane. One of the things I'm learning is that we have that temporary setback, that problem nyana, and you kind of lose the energy, you lose the drive, you lose the motivation. And for me, it was with my phone. So my phone had a speaker problem, and now having to go back and then start new videos or record new videos, um, like it was. I mean, I think the challenge for me was the energy because obviously if I've been doing it for like 5 weeks and then something happens, I lose that kind of like I lose that energy. Um, so yeah, that's just one of the things I am currently learning is that sometimes we complain or we just lose that energy just because of that little nyana problem enyane fela, and you just lose that energy. So in this category I'm talking about parenting, but I think in my thoughts, or rather in one of the things I'm learning with the journey of parenting, is that the most important thing is to raise your child's self value. It is to raise your child's self esteem. It is raising your child. I'm not talking about confidence. I'm not talking about confidence. So there's confidence, like you can be confident in the ability to do something else in a specific thing. But I think, having a sense of self worth, value, instilling certain principles within you. Basically, it is the key to how you're going to function in the world, right? That's what I'm thinking. That's one of the things I'm learning. And what it means is that it doesn't matter whether you know something else or you don't know or you have the ability to do it or not, but just those principles or that value or that worthiness that you have in yourself can ultimately shape in terms of how you think. To saying, I don't know how to do something else. Let me find a way of how, or let me find a way of doing it, as opposed to just giving up on that particular thing. So, in the process, in the journey of parenting, I'm learning that it is during the child's, like for example, they call it the imprint period, and some articles will say it's between 0 and 7 years, and some say up to 11 years. But I think what I'm finding that is it's important is between your child asali munyane from 0 until maybe the primary years until 14, let's say 14. It's very important that you're going to raise your child's value, you're going to raise your child's self-worth. You're going to raise your child. I mean, when I'm saying self-worth and self value, in terms of the idea your child has about themselves, how they see themselves. Do they see themselves as worthy? Do they see themselves as important? Do they see themselves as accepting themselves of who they are and what they have? Um, and yeah, that's what I'm learning, because ultimately how your child sees themselves, how they view themselves, the idea that they have about themselves in their head, ultimately is the key thing to how they're going to function as adult. Each and every parent wants their child to be independent. For them, each and every parent's intention is for their child to improve their lives and become better than where they are. um, and I think just learning that sometimes parents do live their lives through their children, or sometimes you'd find that they sort of like they rectify their mistakes. How like they rectify their mistakes in terms of how they grew up, and they start controlling their children to saying, no, I know how the world works, like I know how the world works, and therefore if you do 1 2 3, it's going to lead you um to not a brighter future. If you do this, it's gonna. But not understanding that your parents are only seeing life in their own view, in their own light, in their own eyes. That's just one-sided way. So yeah, what I'm thinking, yeah, just basically what I'm learning from this whole foundation, and I think me having a daughter who's 2 years old, is that I have to ensure, I have to be intentional, I have to be conscious, I have to be I have to be aware of what my child is telling themselves. You know, when she walks away from me, is she saying I am great? Is she saying I'm doing good? Is she saying, ha? You know, what is she telling herself? Is she telling us? Is she telling herself that, I always have to, I have to, what's this? I have to, baby something to I have to always prove myself to mama because mama is never happy. Is she telling herself that I'm not good enough? Is she telling herself that um nothing is ever acceptable in my mother's eyes? What is your child telling themselves? Because how she views herself in the younger stage is going to ultimately be the thing that it's going to be it's just like basically when she's an adult she's going to act according to how she's been feeling as a child. um and I think that just learning that process and having to be conscious and being aware, it's very important that I have to instill values or increase my child's self-worth. You know, I think sometimes we instill fear in our children so that it's just a way of protecting them so that they don't make wrong decisions. But the question is, or rather, do you think about, okay, if you are instilling fear in your child, she probably fears now of taking risk in life when they are adults. You know, they probably, you know, just the fear, instilling that fear, the fear of success, the fear of failure, the fear of, I want to be liked, you know, or the rather having that feeling of, I want to be liked, I want to be wanted, I want that attention, because if you didn't get the attention you will want the attention. You know, it's like we draw ourselves to the things that we didn't get as children. And it happens in relationships, it happens in jobs, and it happens in our social spaces that we are acting, we are driving us, we drive us, you know, we are driven by our emotions, you know. Because we are driven by emotions. Anything that is going to make us feel good, wanted, makes us feel worthy, that's where we draw ourselves towards that thing. And yeah, I think that's one of the things that I feel that is very important. So I'm currently reading the book Release Your Brakes by James Newman. And one of the things he's mentioning in the book is that, you know, when you put your child to bed, tell your child I love you. Tell your child I'm proud of you. Children, you know, there's specific things that during the day your child has done and saying, oh my goodness, well done, you know, so that she knows when she's done wrong, I've done wrong. When she's done right, she has done right. I think it's just communicating that to your child, to saying, I'm proud of you because of one, two, three, four, five. And if there are mistakes that your child has done, it's just rectifying or finding different ways of communicating with your child to saying, no, this is not the way you do it in this manner. And therefore they build up at a very young age to saying, okay, if this does not work, then let's try something else. And I think that's why we kind of sometimes fear failure, because it's like, get up to try things, and if I fail at it then I don't feel worthy. But having to instill certain values in your child and principles to say, if you didn't do it right, find another way, there's always another way, you know. I think just having that, being intentional and conscious about it. But adding to what James Newman was saying, to saying, pet your child, when you put your child to bed, pet your child and tell them, I am proud of you, so that that is what she instills in herself. Oh, I am, man, I can do it, you know. But one of the things I'm learning is that communicate with your child to saying, what is it that I have done today to hurt you? And your child will communicate. You'll be quite surprised to what your child is going to tell you. That, hi, Mama, we're thinking, I put the cup at the edge of the table, and it broke, and you were so angry, and this made me feel, I was scared, I thought you were going to hit me, or I thought you hate me. You'll be surprised to what your child tells themselves. But in those conversations that you're having with your child, you'll start learning what your child is telling themselves. But what's important, I think, you will be able to correct the wrong ideas or the wrong thinking that your child is telling themselves, you know. And as simple as, no, I was shouting at you because you put the cup at the edge and it's going to break, or it has broken. But it's saying, no, put it further, and your child will explain, don't, no, I can't reach further, that's why I put it at towards the edge of the table, you know. It's just one of those conversation and understanding. There's a different way, there's a different, your mind as an adult and your child's mind are totally different. They've reached, those are different stages. But I think for me right now, I'm finding it very challenging. My child is 2 years old, I'm finding very I like it's very challenging for me to step into her world, and I'm learning that I need to research more to saying how does her mind work at the current stage, and what is it that I can do to raise her value. I'm not talking about confidence, because you can be confident in one specific area, but I think the idea that I want to, or the values and principles I want to instill in her is that if I don't know how to do something else, let me find things, tools, let me ask, as opposed to just giving up. I think that's one of the things. And I think even though I want to teach certain things, I want to instill certain principles and values in my child, I cannot teach my child what I do not know. Ne? I can't teach my child what I do not know, meaning that I'm a product of history. My grandmother told my mother taught me, and I'm teaching my child. I can only teach my child what I know. And if I want to make certain changes in my child's life, it has to start with me. I have to change me. I have to work on me. And therefore, sometimes it's just looking at the child in you, it's just dealing with the child in you. Oftentimes, what we do is we like to embrace how our parents taught us, and we embrace more of the positive, but we never look at the negative parts. We never look at the traumas, meaning that there are certain things in your childhood that happened that made you feel a certain way, and I'm talking about the negative aspects of it. And just acknowledging, surrendering to the pain, because pain does not go away until you can surrender to it, until you can acknowledge it, until you can talk to it and saying, this is how it made me feel. There's a thing in psychology that they say we draw ourselves closer to the things that give us pleasure, and anything that feels painful, we run away from it, or we don't want to talk about it, or yeah, it's like we run away from it. So, but not recognizing that if we are running away from it, it's not solving the problem. It's just sometimes having to acknowledge that it makes me feel this way, so that you can, I think it's just a way of letting it go, and you can move on once you've acknowledge it, and understanding why you feel the way you feel. So, and I think one of the other things I'm learning, that each and every sibling has a different experience of the same parent. It doesn't matter whether you were brought up by both your parents, or by separate, by whether your parents were not together, by a single mother or single father. Yeah, fine. Your experience of your parent is ultimately, like, it's just the way, like how you function right now in your adulthood has a lot to do how you felt, about how you felt as a child, whether you like taking risk or you don't like taking risk, or you just feeling unworthy, and you find yourself in either different organizations, or you find yourself in different relationships that are not well. It's because of how you feel about yourself. It's that idea that you have about your head, the idea you have in your head about yourself. So I think a lot of things that we have to, when we solve problems, it has a lot to do about how you view yourself. But because I'm talking about children, I am well. All I'm saying is that you have to find the child in you. Um, and so, okay, back to the whole saying today. Each and every child has a different experience, or each and every sibling has a different experience. So, for example, my child is 2 years, and I already know there are certain things I would have changed in terms of how I brought up my child. There are certain things from when she was a fetus, when she was a fetus, when she was born. There are certain things I'm like, I would have changed one, two, three. And I'm also realizing now that's how parents are. In the first child, they do certain things, and they're like, oh, actually, I would like to change one, two, three with my second child. But obviously, pregnancies and experiences become different. Sometimes you move into a different area, the environment changes the way you sort of teach your child. So each and every child is unique. Each and every child has a different, as much as we have our own fingerprints that are unique, we are all unique, but also importantly, how our parents bring us up is going to be different. We've got this thing at the firstborn, we call firstborns the deputy parents. And we say the deputy parents because they mostly be the ones who take over. And but there's, what I'm trying to say is there are feelings that they had, and during the whole how they have been brought up. the second born has a different experience of the same parent. The last born has a different experience of the same parent, because our parents constantly want to change the way they bring us up. They find mistakes, they're like, I want to do this for this one. Sometimes we may think that your child is too quiet, but not actually realizing that they're quiet due to certain trauma or pain. Sometimes you may think that your child is very active and smiling and happy, but not understanding that she's rather running away from a certain feeling. But I'm not saying that if your child is happy, then there's something wrong. No, but I think what I'm learning from the process, or what I'm learning from personal mastery, or the journey to self, is that I have to talk to my child. I have to, and being open minded, not because, even though your intentions was not to instill fear, and you're just trying to protect your child. But I think what I'm finding that is very important is just to communicate, be open minded to saying that is her experience, that's what she's seeing from her side. And I think one of the things I'm learning is that I'm learning to actually have more compassion about for people. And I'm saying compassion and empathy for people, because I'm starting realizing that um how you are acting, whether you're doing negative things or positive things, has a lot to do about how you feel about yourself. And maybe probably stop judging at the same time. um and at the same time, I think learning to saying, we can't always continue making excuses for bad behavior. But at the same time, it's saying, let's rather talk about it. Let's talk about those feelings. Let's and talking about those feelings and having conversations about those uncomfortable feelings, so that we can literally move on and let go. But I think also it's just, yeah, that's what I'm learning from this journey of personal mastery. So in this video, I thought the video is about children, or my process, or my learning of how I think I want to parent my child. But I'm learning that even though sometimes I may think I'm changing certain things in terms of the way I'm parenting my child, but I'm actually reinforcing the feeling. Maybe I'm reinforcing the feeling of unworthy by doing certain things. Maybe I'm reinforcing the feeling of fear by doing certain things. Maybe I'm instilling the feeling of favoritism, because it's a different action, but I'm reinforcing the feeling. But I can, until I'm made aware, you can't change things when you are not aware. So it starts by being aware of certain things first, and then you can change from then you can make different decisions. But I think, talk to the child in you, counsel the child in you, have a different opinion, like, have a different idea of the child in you. And also talk to your child. If you have a child, talk to your child and find out what is it that they are telling themselves. When you put them to bed, when you're sitting down and having conversation, find out from your child, what is it that I've done, today, today, that I have hurt you, so that your child can tell you these are the things that make them feel uncomfortable. And you'll be quite surprised about what the things your children are telling themselves. Because how your child views themselves at a young age is ultimately going to be the key thing in terms of how they are going to make decisions when they're adult. They're making decisions of whether they become independent or how they run away. And sometimes, and I think one of the things I'm learning in this what's the thing in this journey, is that your child's reaction is a reflection of your behavior. It's a reflection of what you are teaching your child. So you have to be really conscious about it. And I think sometimes it's just taking time. I know we have to be busy, we have to work, we everyone is trying to make the money. Everyone is trying to make that money. But the question is, what kind of generation are you building? What kind of world are you building for your child? Because you are a product of history. And if you want to make certain changes in your life, you have to first surrender to the pain that's within you, the pain or the child in you, and ultimately then change the way you are then parenting your next child. And communicating with your child, telling your child, I'm proud of you, telling your child that you've done well, telling your child that you are worthy, you're important. Tell your child, I love you. um and I think that's just what I'm learning from this journey of personal mastery, and particularly pertaining to this area of childhood, because every parent wants their child to have a better life than what they have. So yeah, thank you so much. Honestly, thank you so much to all the subscribers and just the few conversations that we are having on WhatsApp. And thank you to the upcoming subscribers. I'm really grateful. I'm also, I think it's just also a way of having more psychologists come up and talk. It's just a way of attracting more life coaches. It's a way of attracting more transformational coaches because we have to talk. I think it's just about conversation. I'm just talking about whatever that's happening in the world so that we can talk more about these emotions because how you feel, you act. So your actions are due to how you feel, and how you feel is due to how you are thinking, and your perception about the world and yourself, importantly, yourself. So that's just what I wanted to share today. And yeah, so thank you so much, and I will see you in my next video. Bye bye.